Once upon a time, in a lush green forest, there lived a clever and compassionate frog named Freddie. Freddie was known far and wide for his wisdom and willingness to assist others in need. He spent his days gracefully hopping from one lily pad to another, observing the beauty of nature and offering his guidance to fellow creatures. One bright morning, as Freddie was enjoying the warmth of the sun, he noticed a scorpion named Stanley struggling near the edge of the pond. Concerned for Stanley's safety, Freddie approached him cautiously. "Hello, Stanley," Freddie croaked kindly. "What seems to be the matter?" Stanley looked up at Freddie, his eyes filled with desperation. "Oh, Freddie," he said, his voice trembling. "I must cross this pond to reach the other side where my family awaits me. But I am unable to swim, and I fear I will drown if I attempt to cross." Freddie's heart went out to Stanley. He understood the predicament scorpions faced in water, but his compassionate nature urged him to help. But knowing the nature of Stanley is to sting, he keeps it quiet, so Stanley pleaded with him for help. "No," he ripped. "I could carry you on my back across the pond," Freddie continued, refused to accept his pleading. Freddie assured him that, "I know you will sting me." Stanley said, "Oh, my friend, you should have known better. If I sting you in the porn, at least we will be sinking together, and I will never do that. However, I must warn you that if you sting me, it will be fatal for both of us. Can I trust you not to harm me?" Stanley nodded earnestly. "Freddie, I understand your concern, and I promise you that I will not harm you. If I were to sting you, we would both perish. You have my word." Freddie hesitated for a moment, contemplating the scorpion's words. Though uncertain, he decided to place his trust in Stanley's promise. He lowered himself to the ground, and Stanley climbed onto his back, clutching onto Freddie's smooth skin with a firm grip. With a deep breath, Freddie propelled himself into the pond and began swimming towards the other side. As they moved through the water, Stanley stabbed Freddie, and he couldn't believe it. "Cry out and say why. Why did you do that?" Stanley replied, "I am sorry." And an eerie silence settled between them. Freddie turned his head to Stanley and asked, "Stanley, why are you so quiet? Is something troubling you?" Stanley sighed heavily, his voice filled with remorse. "Freddie, I appreciate your kindness, but there is something you should know about scorpions. It is in our nature to sting. I fear that I may not be able to resist the urge, and I might harm you again." Freddie's heart sank, and fear washed over him. "But you promised you wouldn't harm me," he quivered, his voice trembling with concern. Stanley looked down, his eyes filled regretfully. "I know, Freddie. I truly intended to keep my promise, but the instinct to sting is overpowering. It is in my very essence." Freddie's mind raced, searching for a solution. He couldn't bear the thought of being stung, yet he also couldn't break his promise to help. As they reached the halfway point of the pond, Freddie's keen eyes spotted a fallen tree trunk jutting out from the water. "I have an idea, Stanley," Freddie said, determination resonating in his voice. "If you promise not to sting me, I will swim to that fallen tree trunk, and you can climb onto it from my back. Then I will swim the rest of the way to the other side." Stanley nodded, his eyes filled with gratitude and regret. Freddie swam toward the tree trunk, and Stanley carefully climbed onto it, still holding on to his promise not to sting. With renewed hope, Freddie resumed his journey to the other side of the pond. As they finally reached the shore, Freddie allowed Stanley to disembark from the tree trunk. He felt a mixture of relief and sadness, knowing that his trust had been misplaced. "Thank you, Freddie," Stanley said, his voice heavy with remorse. Freddie nodded, accepting Stanley's gratitude, though a sense of disappointment lingered within him. From that day forward, he kept his distance from Stanley, understanding the scorpion's nature and the impossibility of changing it. But the story of the frog and the scorpion spread throughout the forest, serving as a cautionary tale. It reminded the animals of the importance of trust and the limits of one's nature. Freddie's selfless act and Stanley's inability to resist his instinct became a lesson in understanding and accepting the inherent traits of others. While Freddie continued to be a beacon of wisdom and kindness, he learned to exercise caution and discernment when extending his help. And as for Stanley, the remorse of his actions remained with him, serving as a constant reminder of the consequences of his nature. In the end, the story of the frog and the scorpion served as a powerful reminder that sometimes, despite our best intentions, we cannot escape our nature. The moral of the story of the frog and the scorpion is that it is important to recognize and accept the inherent nature of others. While acts of kindness and trust are admirable, it is crucial to exercise caution and discernment, as some traits may be deeply ingrained and difficult to change. Understanding and accepting these limitations can help us navigate relationships and avoid unnecessary harm. The end. Thank you for watching. Consider subscribing for more videos like this from this channel. We love you.